Gyokuro is one of the most expensive Japanese teas, and today we're going to brew it in a way it brings out its best. A part of why I love Gyokuro so much is because there's so many different ways you can enjoy Gyokuro. Across these 4 days, I'll be sharing 4 different ways you can enjoy Gyokuro, and today is day 2, the ice cold brew. Hi, I'm Yuki, I'm the founder of Tea Life, and in this channel we break down Japanese tea so you can become a Japanese tea expert. Today, we'll be making a very thick cold brew. So we won't be using any hot water at all. By using cold water, we can make the extraction very gentle. What that means is it will extract only a little bit of the astringency and bitterness in the tea. And instead, what it does, it extracts the umami and the sweetness. All the amino acids will be maximized. So in a sense, it's really maximizing the strengths of a Gyokuro tea, which is very unique. It's unlike any other tea out there. Even compared to matcha, it's very different. So let's jump in. Let's introduce the tea tools we'll be using today. We'll be using a glass teapot, so we won't be using any specialized Gyokuro tools, but this glass teapot is nice because you can see through and you can see what's happening. And it looks fresh in an ice cold brew. For the tea, we'll be using the Gyokuro umejirushi, which is from Taniguchi-en. It's a uji tea, it's from Kyoto, and it's a nice choice for ice cold brew. For this whole series, we're using the same exact tea, so we can compare and contrast the same tea with different methodologies. So here's the setup for today. We'll be using 8 grams of the Gyokuro leaves, and then we'll be using 200 milliliters of ice cold water. And we'll be infusing it for roughly 15 minutes. So that'll be our infusion. We can have a bit of fun today, so let's do a couple of infusions. For the second infusion, let's brew it at 60 degrees Celsius. So that's a relatively standard Gyokuro brew for a normal first infusion. First infusion for a traditional Gyokuro would usually be 50 degrees to 60 degrees. Last video we did 50 degrees. So second infusion today, let's do a 60 degrees. And then for the third infusion, let's bring it up another 10 degrees. We'll do it at 70 degrees. And we'll try and taste the differences of the Gyokuro. Here we go with the first infusion. So we'll take this again. We'll measure 8 grams of tea leaves. 8 grams is a fair bit. So that's a lot of tea leaves. As you can see, we'll be adding roughly 200 milliliters of ice cold water. So this is ice plus water, about 200 milliliters. I will just dump this all in. And then we'll be waiting for 15 minutes. Okay, so it's been 15 minutes, just about. So you can see that the leaves have really opened up. But before we do this, let's sniff. And you can smell the lift of the umami. It's really wonderful. It's a really wonderful smell. I'm a bit afraid that this glass might be too small. If you notice, I changed the glass as well because I wasn't sure if the small wine glass that I had just now, the champagne glass, was too small. As always, we want to make sure that we pour to the last drop. You can see it's a very beautiful golden color, and I'm not sure if you can tell through the lens, but it looks like a very thick color. You can see that there's a high viscosity in the drink itself. So, itadakimasu. Oh wow, it's so clear and clean, and the notes are very toned down. But it's just very pure, clean umami and sweetness, especially the sweetness. You get a lot of the sweetness, and you don't really get this much sweetness in your normal Japanese tea. So that's very unique to a Gyokuro being ice brewed. This is fantastic. On a hot day in Singapore, working at home or something, this is highly recommended. It's not as thick as the traditional Gyokuro that we had yesterday, because yesterday's Gyokuro was 100 ml of water to 8 grams of leaf. So essentially it's half the thickness when you think about it. Perhaps you could say it's more because the temperature is lower. It's harder to extract nutrients into the water. So perhaps it's less than half in terms of the thickness. So it's very smooth and easy to drink. However, it's a lot thicker than a normal cold brew you would have with like a Sencha. Yummy. That was delicious. Okay, let's do the second infusion. I still had some ice left over in this teapot, so I took it out because if I keep it in, it's going to reduce the temperature again. And I wanted to brew this at 60 degrees. So we'll take 60 degrees water and we'll add 100 ml and then we'll steep it for 1 minute. So here's 60 degrees water, and then let's put in 100 milliliters of water into the teapot. And then we'll steep it for 1 minute. We are just at the 1 minute mark. Oh wow. So the smell, the aroma is very different from how it smelled during the cold brew. You can feel the temperature is very different and it's cooking the leaves to a certain extent. Now let's pour. As you notice, I'm back to this wine glass. For the second infusion as well, we want to make sure that we pour to the last drop. The water is very thick, and it used to be the first infusion was really golden, but this time around you see a little bit more green, I would say. So the aroma is very different too. It's a lot warmer, brighter notes. What stands out is the vegetal notes coming out more prominently in the 60 degrees brew for the second brew. For a second brew, this is very good. The umami, the sweetness is a lot lower. Instead you feel a little bit more of the astringency, the structure of the tea. So you feel that much more. Same with the aroma, but much more brighter notes and warmer notes. Certainly more vegetal notes that you feel, but this is a completely different drink from the first infusion. So that's what's really interesting about this. It used to be a very cold, refreshing, very strong, high viscosity drink, and this time around it's a very warm and heartwarming tea. So very different. Okay, as promised, let's try the third infusion. This time around, we're going to do 70 degrees Celsius water. We'll use 100 milliliters of water again and see how it goes. So here's 70 degrees Celsius water, and then we will pour it into the teacup. Oops, just a bit more than I thought. 120, that's fine. So we will infuse this for 30 seconds. All right, 30 seconds has come, so let's pour the tea. So this is the second infusion. I think the color looks very similar to the, oh sorry, this is the third infusion. The color looks very similar to the second infusion. Maybe slightly more green, I'm not sure. Still a very pleasant drink, very surprising because the astringency, the bitterness is very low, so it's very easy to drink, it's smooth. The umami, the sweetness has significantly reduced, so you don't feel those too much anymore. You still get nice vegetal notes, but it's a very light and very thin vegetal notes, if you will. So that thickness, the signature thickness of the Gyokuro is basically gone by this point, but still a very pleasant and nice drink to have. I hope you liked it. We still have a few more methods of brewing for Gyokuro, so please stay tuned.